Okay, thank you. Thanks, Devin. Okay, just going live on YouTube now, and I'm just going to make sure that I'm not also getting the audio, so we don't get a terrible feedback loop. I think we're live now. Okay. Very good. We'll call to order this special meeting of the Easton Board of Education at 6:33 p.m. on November 9th, 2021. Members in attendance: Randy Hicks, Jeff Parker, Jenny Cheetah, Devin Weigel, Jen DeJesus, and myself, John Stinson. We'll start tonight, and apologies to everyone here. We generally project on the board so everyone can follow along as we're going through the materials, but we have misplaced our projector. So I very much apologize not to have those materials easy for you to follow with us, but we hope to resolve that for our 7:30 meeting. Okay, all right, sorry, Jenny. Sorry, I thought you were heading up. Okay. We will start tonight just with a quick review of the agenda. So after call to order, we'll have public comment, then we'll have board member comment, discussion and possible action where we have a possible executive session to review written advice of counsel related to board member email review, possible action as always whenever exiting the executive session, and then we'll hope to have time for board FERPA, FOIA, bylaws training, probably focusing primarily on FERPA training tonight based on the amount of time we have. And then we'll go to board member comment and adjournment. We hope to be able to adjourn on time for our regular board meeting, which starts at 7:30. Very good. Okay, so we'll move into public comment. Members of the public, as you make comment, please state your full name, street, and town. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Focus on Easton's educational interest. Please do not target individual district personnel, and please express your thoughts in as civil a manner as possible. Is there any public comment? Yes, please.
I'm Beverly Dacey from Road Easton, and I was looking at the agenda, which is what brought me here, with regard to your discussion and possible action on advice of counsel related to board member email review. I don't know what you're covering, but I wanted to share with you very quickly 2 points. One, I was looking at your bylaws and your 9020.1a, which says in fulfilling its advocacy responsibilities, the Board of Ed will cooperate with parent groups, other educators, special interest groups, businesses and service organizations, other school boards, CABE, and community members to achieve favorable legislation on education issues. Coalition building is critical to effective advocacy. I bring that to your attention because it was brought to my attention that a member of your board has stated the following in an email. Says that Devin Weigel posted on February 23rd, there was an ER9 DEI task force meeting tomorrow night at 7 p.m. agenda attached. As you can see from Sarah Austin Berger's earlier post, there is a growing group of Easton residents who are against anti-racism and DEI work. They are loud and organized and have a group that attends town meetings to speak out against any progress being made to ensure that our community and schools are safe and inclusive for residents. They are racist. There's also a follow-up comment by another board member from Region 9 who refers to this group as white supremacists. Now, I'm bringing this to your attention because I am somebody who has spoken out against the DEI efforts. And I'm a citizen. And I'm not an elected official. and I've been called a racist. And there's no grounds for that. And I don't know what you're doing in terms of email reviews, but I believe that that email needs to be reviewed and addressed. It's not advocacy, it's slander. And those are two very different things. And slandering a town resident and somebody in my position where I own a company and social media is accessible all over the place. And making allegations against me of that degree could have a very deleterious impact on my company, on me personally and professionally. And that's not acceptable. So it needs to be brought to your attention. I'm bringing it to your attention. I believe that it's a form of bullying and that it should be referred to your legal counsel if it hasn't already been. And if it isn't, I'm prepared to do it because this is not the way we work as a community. To be called white supremacist when nobody knows what the blood is that runs through my veins. So that is not how we talk about one another in this community. Regardless of whether we agree or disagree on issues, it's not acceptable. So I know you'll be going to executive session. I'm presuming that is going to be discussed. If it's not, then when the time comes, I will be certain that it does get discussed. And that's why I'm here to speak on this today. Because this is about me and me personally.
Can you please wrap up your comments? You're well over the 3 minutes. Thank you.
Okay.
Any additional public comment? Yes.
Need to talk into this?
No, you do not.
Okay, great. Dana Benson, Pond Road, Easton. So I just wanted to share with the board a excerpt from a editorial that was written in the Easton Gazette by Brad Colts. I assume part of what you're discussing tonight has to do with Selectman candidate Parker. So this is from a article published in the Easton Gazette, Saturday, October 23rd, 2021. I'm sure you've read it, but I just want to reiterate one paragraph. It's entitled False Accusations. Board of Education member, first Selectman candidate Jeff Parker has been attacked for sharing public documents with members of the public who asked to have those materials. Letters sent to the Board of Education in May regarding the DEI survey were then shared by Mr. Parker with Easton citizens. These are not only public records, but by law, were required to have been posted on the Board of Education website for anyone to be able to access them as they were intended for inclusion in a public meeting. Mr. Parker had every reason to expect the documents were public as they were required by law and Governor Lamont's Executive Order 7B to be so. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional public comment?
EMS, good morning, Glory Drive. I'm speaking on behalf of Maureen Hanley, who's had hip surgery. Maureen Hanley, 21 Andrews Road. I'm recovering from major hip surgery and unfortunately able to be there in person. I give EMS my first full permission to read my remarks on my behalf into the record. Unfortunately, I believe there is a double standard in regards to conservative voices as opposed to the progressive voices in Easton, especially on our Board of Education. I believe that had the tables been turned against one of our more progressive Board of Ed members, that any of those voices wouldn't have been firmly silenced. I certainly not shared in the purview of press or the public Facebook square, which they have, in fact, done to parents and taxpayers of the town. Examples include silencing public comment in meetings with little or no reasonable explanation, introducing biased testimony, and in particular, in calling police to report improper mask wearing. Jeff Parker was the only voice these parents had. The recently spotlighted controversial emails were misleading and incomplete. First of all, the correspondence, which was forwarded by Mr. Parker, had already been sent to all Board of Ed officials through their town government emails, rendering them public information where there is no expectation of privacy thereof. There's also the fact that other board members ultimately failed in their duty to even provide a single response to these cries for help. Jeff Parker took action and put many of these parents in touch with a locally founded organization dedicated to these parents and their issues. This is something Mr. Parker should never have been made to apologize for, and this proceeding is a farce. As said previously, the emails shared were not complete, and I find it interesting that none of my emails to the board were included. I emailed the Board of Ed on numerous occasions, some between Mr. Parker and myself. I can imagine the only reason for the submission is that they did not serve the desired narrative. The timing and nature of this effort shows no evidence of any pure intention, but rather a clear attempt at character assassination against a respected member of our Board of Education and hardworking public servant. This isn't justice, just political nonsense and a distraction from the blatant ethics violations of certain other Easton Board of Ed members, which I'm sure will be firmly buried. It saddens me that we have come to a point in our wonderful town where voices are being silenced. I suppose that hundreds of calls from parents to hold their Board of Ed members accountable for their inappropriate curriculum and content in our schools were a nuisance. They may have found messaging intrusive and the parents pesky, but I'm not going to apologize because this is my child we're talking about. Your job is to see that she gets a good and solid education, which is my paramount concern and should be yours as well. Possibly your focus should be on the slipping test scores rather than a witch hunt, this witch hunt. Keep in mind, before you proceed, Jeff Parker was the only one answering our calls and emails. Shouldn't that be the focus? Shouldn't that be where we would want our Board of Education members, someone who hears all of his constituents? Maybe your focus should be on why you weren't answering the pleas from concerned parents regarding the quality of education our children are receiving, and not just those that echo this unwanted, toxic, and divisive ideology being openly pushed on our children in our schools. Who should I give this to for?
You can leave it on the table. Thank you. Any additional public comment?
And just my last comment in regard to board meeting minutes. My comments from the last meeting in October were horrendous because, and I'll say that for the next meeting.
Thank you. Any additional public comment? Hearing none. Board member comment? Okay, good. That will take us to discussion and possible action. We'll look for a motion that the Easton Board of Education move to executive session to review the written advice of counsel and invite into the discussion Attorney Alfano and Dr. Jason McKinnon. So I hear that motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Jeff. Second. Thank you, Randy. All in favor? Sorry, any discussion? No, hearing none. All in favor? Very good. Very unanimous. At 6:45 p.m., moving to executive session. At this point, we will clear the room, except for those staying for executive session. Thank you.